But yeah, no. So, well, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today to open up about your career and your work. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for reaching out. I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah, my pleasure. And before we get into your work, I want to begin our conversation with, you know, 4 years ago, we were wrapping our heads around this pandemic. We were getting into it, and it really did a lot to all of us. How did you get through that time period, and how did it change you?
So, ironically enough, I gave notice to my job that I was at before, the career that I was at before, November of 2019. And our goal was to have everything wrapped up by April 1st. And so, ironically enough, I decided to open a company pretty much 2 weeks after we had shut down in Utah.
Yeah.
So St. Patrick's Day was pretty much when we decided to shut down. And so I had just started a career in my own company again when all of that went down. So it was a very interesting time. I felt very excited and all of that. And then it changed overnight, really, as many did. And I was like, what am I doing? It was kind of like I felt this was the direction. I had all these things lined up, speaking engagements, being able to go out and be with, whether it was sales teams or chamber events, or I'm a part of some women networking groups as well. And all of it was, so I was like, what am I going to do? It was a very interesting time, but I also work with people all over the globe, and everybody was just trying to figure it out. So it was almost perfect timing as well, because a lot of the sales leaders that I was working with and helping, I mean, they were kind of trying to manage people now from afar. And it was just a whole different aspect of what do we do now that we're not all together in the same building. And time management was a big thing for a lot of people, because if you've never worked from home and now you're working from home, that's a shift in itself, right? With people that have children, young families, trying to find a space that they could work in. And so I was very blessed to have worked in my own home for up to 6 years prior to that. So I was able to give lots of tips and tricks on how to do that. But it was a very scary time on top of it all, and somehow we managed and made it through, thank
Yeah.
God. So
Yeah. So let's get a better handle on exactly what you do here in 2024 on a daily basis. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders. It's career day. One of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
well, that's a really great question. I get to talk to people all over the planet, and the boring things that we get to talk about is how to help people be better at what they do.
Yeah.
So if they want to sell items, we help them be better at selling those items. Or if they are helping people be good at what they do, whether they make burgers or they put shingles on roofs or they help people find mortgages, like to buy a house, like that's what I help people get better at. And then in turn, they can help their people get better. That's how I would explain it.
Ripple effect. So, what did you want to be in the third grade?
What's so funny is I grew up in small business. And so my grandfather and great grandfather all worked for themselves. And then my dad opened up businesses himself as well. So when I was in the third grade, I was probably thinking, how do I work for my dad?
Yeah.
Um, because I was pretty much at that time. I mean, anyone that's in a small business from whatever age you can manage a broom or a towel or something like that, like you're hired.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't think I really had many aspirations at that time. I definitely knew I did not want to be a doctor, or I couldn't stand blood and things like that. So that I knew that was completely out, but it was more of like, how do I work for my dad? I really
Yeah.
looked up to him. Still do.
So, so it's safe to say that this has been kind of in your DNA to run your own business, be that entrepreneurial kind of notion.
Yeah, and as a kid, you're always don't want to do the things that your parents do, right? You just want
Right.
to do the opposite. So I remember the minute that I had an opportunity to leave the business, I was like, I'm out. I'm never going to work for myself. I'm always going to work for the man. the lady, the someone not me. And then I quickly realized at 23 that there were more things to be offered if I could do it on my own. My dad would tell you that it was the best thing that I did because I don't take orders very well from other people.
Yeah.
Um, and so I've always
Yeah.
kind of had like the, wait, what if we did it this way? This would be better. And so I started my own insurance company at the age of 23.
So talk to me a little bit about who's been an inspiration or a hero for you in your life.
Um, There definitely are a few people. I would say, of course, so I'm one of 7 kids. So not only did I watch my parents grow a family, but then also manage 3 businesses at the same time. Um, and just seeing them be able to manage so many things. I mean, all of us in different sports, all of us in different, whether it was singing lessons or water polo or softball, baseball, like we were all doing something and then they still had these businesses to run. So I definitely look up to my parents, and my grandparents were a huge influence on me as well. The person who gave me my first sales job was always someone that I will always look up to. They said yes to me, not knowing a thing about what I was going to do, but for whatever reason, they saw something in me that I didn't know I had in myself yet. And I'm so grateful for her. Name is Lisa. I love her so much. We're still in contact, but she's that person that said, you know what, why don't you come work for me, and gave me that opportunity. I also had a really good friend that passed away when I was 16 that influenced me. She was ill, and just seeing her battle some things but reach goals that even the doctors felt were impossible was just a big deal for me, especially at 16. You're so able to be influenced. I'm so grateful that I had great influences at the same time.
Yeah, my best friend growing up, I was 16 when he died. He was 17 and he had perpetual health issues. And I mean, we'd be outside playing and he'd come in and hook up an IV. And I remember watching that and seeing that leaves an indelible impact on who you are and how you decide you want to live your life later on. I've always felt like I've tried to hold a little piece of him as I go through my life. So it's pretty monumental.
Well, you just start from I'm sure you saw, like, just every day is a gift.
Hmm.
Um, to be able to run, to be able to, not have to carry an oxygen tank around just
Yeah.
to, breathe it. It just was like, gosh, I really have no excuses of why I'm not, fulfilling some of the things that would be important for me to do
Yeah.
and who to become here, because I have today and I have the time. So it was really a hard time, of course. When you lose somebody so young, you don't know what to do. And I think counseling is definitely more acceptable, I guess, or the people would turn to that, which, for me, that wasn't something that was even talked about, but would have been probably a huge benefit at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you could meet one person alive on the planet, whether it's business related or otherwise, and spend some time with them, someone you find fascinating, who would it be?
The first person that comes to my mind um is it's funny because they're actually a musician,
Yeah.
which is Dave Matthews. I would just
Yeah.
absolutely love to sit with him. I mean, they're one of the strongest bands that have still toured for all of these years. So there's obviously something that, yes, they have a following, but on a business aspect, there are some things that they're doing that has created this following that has continued to produce amazing music, even with band members leaving, and from when it was the piano and the violinist, and now it's smaller, a group of people, like in it's so it's like, gosh, just to talk about how to overcome transition, how to lose
Yeah.
somebody that was such a vital part of your organization or your band. And then, of course, if he would like to sing me a song,
Sure.
just with him and his guitar, I would be totally cool with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cherry on top. I get it. So,
Yeah.
what is your motivation every day to wake up and do this work where you're obviously helping people and you have to evolve as a human being yourself? What's that motivation to get up every day to do that?
Um, I think one of the best jobs on the planet, only because I get to work with individuals that a lot of times are at their lowest point, is when they start to reach out. It's like, I can't do this the way that I'm doing it and feel like I have a life, feel like I'm a good person to my family when I come home, or that I'm just not giving my team the best, or my business is, it's either I figure this out and have balance, or I don't do this anymore. And I feel like when small businesses especially close down, it impacts the community in such a way too. I mean, those were
Yeah.
jobs for people there.
Hmm.
It was a, a place for people to go and shop, or, and so I think that when they feel like they have to lose all of that, the ripple effect on that community is bigger. And so it's funny, they motivate me
Yeah.
to want to get up and listen to their stories and listen to, the obstacles, and they're so unique to each person that um I don't necessarily have like, hey, today we're going to cover this. I always have things planned, but I do allow them to have that space. And a lot of times for business owners, they don't give themselves that. I always say, like, who's coaching the coach, right? So if you're giving yourself to everybody all the time, who's filling your bucket? Who's giving you the things and tools that you could do to be better? Usually they're the last person that, why leaders eat last kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
And so it's easy to get up and at them every day because my days are filled with just amazing individuals that I have a client that's been with me for almost 8 years. So like his kids are going to college. It's crazy,
Yeah.
and when we started, they were, younger than my daughter is right now. So it's been really cool to not just be a part of their business profession, but also just to see them evolve as a parent, as a human in their home. It's been
Yeah.
really cool.
So you have to give good advice to your clients. What's the best advice that you've ever gotten?
The best advice that I've ever gotten probably is fail as many times as you need to get it right.
Yeah.
I'm a perfectionist by trade. And so hearing that was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm not gonna fail, I kind of had a little chip on my shoulder at the time too. But I've always thought about that. So even when I'm trying something new, or, like I said, was trying to start my business during a pandemic. It's like, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? I fail and I learn something, and then I try again, and I
Yeah.
keep trying until it works. And even when it works, I hope I continue to fail, because I don't ever want it to be that's it.
Yeah.
I want it to be what's next. Um, and so that's probably the best advice that I've gotten. And then my dad has told me, he has like a saying for all of us kids, and mine was, he says that I'm the most capable, which at the time I'm like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
But on top of not failing, it just built that confidence that I don't always have in myself, that no matter what, if I fail, I'm still the most capable person for what I'm doing right now, is what I would hope to believe most times.
Yeah. So let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into the 18-year-old version of you. You can give that young version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained up to this point in your life. What advice would you give, and would your young version of you listen?
Well, I would say the young version of me at 18 would probably not listen.
Right.
So that would
Yeah.
be my first thing to say, is like, listen, girl,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
let me just preach to you right now about some things that could change your life. At the same time, though, I'm so grateful for those experiences, because, at 19 is when I first started my sales job. Um, and took that chance. And so I don't know if I would tell them many things other than just confidence is such an important thing, especially for somebody who, at that age too, you're trying to figure out, do I go to college? Do I,
Mhm.
and I would just say, you don't have to have it all figured out in this moment,
Yeah.
but what one step could you take today that would make you feel like you've accomplished something for tomorrow?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to figure out what I'm going to do for the next, lifetime.
Yeah.
I think that's a loaded question for kids that age, and I would
Yeah.
just say, go have fun. Like, be youthful, go do things, go travel. Like if you're capable of doing or can do those things, then go see some things while you still can.
Yeah.
And not worry about all the stuff that you feel you need to have figured out in this very moment.
So of all of these things that you've done with your life and evolved into, what are you the proudest of?
Um, Personally, I have a daughter, and so of course she is like my the person that I am most proud of. She's just an amazing individual. She's 15. Maybe it'll happen. I hear a lot of like, oh, you got a 15-year-old, like we'll be praying for you, we're so sorry, but she's amazing. I haven't yet had that teenage moment. So I'm very proud of her. She's very active in sports. She keeps her grades up. I don't monitor it. She's just a very independent yet respectful 15-year-old, and that is her.
Yeah.
But I would also say I'm just very proud to have the support to do crazy things. I mean, I've moved places where people are like, why would you leave? You had this great opportunity. Why would you just get up and leave? And it's like, because I feel like that's what I need to do. And
Yeah.
so I'm really proud of some of the decisions that other people felt were ridiculous. I continue to move forward with.
So everyone out there, Heather, has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think that I am a person who wants to serve people.
Yeah.
And the best way that I have found that for myself to do is through coaching. So when I can be with people, when I can sit with someone and somewhat help them, like you were talking about earlier with how it goes out, you throw the stone in the water. What really happens? I don't know, but I know in that moment if I can help them feel a little bit better or organize or whatever it is that gives them a little bit more freedom and pressure off of them, then everybody wins.
So if anyone wants to hire you, reach out, learn more about you, any of the good business, where do they go?
Right now, my website is probably the best way for them to get a hold of me. There's a spot that says contact me at the very top, and they just fill out a quick form, just name, phone number, email, and then what is it that they would be looking to gain from coaching. Um, it's so funny because I always hear like, are you a life coach or are you a business coach or like, what is it that you do? And
Yeah.
I don't put myself out there as a life coach. Because there is a little bit of a difference, but we do life together. And
Yeah.
so, of course, there will be things that come up that are very personal to people. But our goal is really the business strategy, the business focus, whether they're looking to recruit people and don't really have a solid plan for that, whether it's a salesperson just wanting to get into sales and knows nothing about it and wants to do really well, to someone who's very seasoned. That's all across the board. But that would be the easiest way. Do you want me to give the website or do you want to?
I'll put it in the show notes. Yeah. Yeah. I'll make sure everybody has it. So, Heather, thank you so much. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck with everything. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you so much. Same to you. Have a great rest of
Thank you.
your afternoon.
You too. Take care.